Hi everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Oyama Mdleleni. I am a purpose coach. This is a faith-based content creation channel where I focus mainly on inner healing and deliverance. I have been on this journey and topic on rejection. Rejection is a deception. It's a deception because the enemy makes us feel that when we are rejected by someone, that there's something wrong with us, that our value is diminished because of that we do not have worth, and therefore we start to give ourselves off freely because of that, when in fact we are already approved, when in fact we have all that we need. God has already approved us. He has already given us, because we are made in His image. But the enemy perverts and twists this and makes us feel like we are not good enough, that we are lacking something, and therefore we live now our entire lives trying to fill that void with things, trying to get comfort because of that pain we are feeling, of that feeling of inadequacy, of that feeling of not worthy, not valuable. And we get ourselves and mix ourselves in these situations because we want to belong somewhere, even if the situation is not good for us. That sense of belonging, that sense of being seen and being heard, that all of us innately we have, innately we need, that sense of community, that sense of belonging somewhere, because we are in this big world and we want to find our place in it. And the enemy uses this to diminish our value, to get us away from the purpose of God, when actually God uses this rejection to catapult and to propel us into the purpose that He had created us for in the beginning. So today I'm going to talk about the rejection by your birth parents. There is this side where we're saying, yes, the birth parents were not there, they abandoned you, they gave you up for adoption, they did not want you, they were not in a position to raise you, which is the side where we really feel this emptiness, that really these people really showed that they did not want, because they left you, they were not there, they did not support you. It then becomes evident. Now, when you are dealt with that card that says you were not wanted to grow up from these parents who abandoned you, who were not there for you, who did not want you, who neglected you, then we can say that yes, rejection was wanted, feeling the void of wanting your parents, of wanting to be seen and heard by them, but them not showing up for you in that way that you needed. Then the people now can say it is warranted for you really to fill that void, when in fact that is the channel, that is the avenue that the Lord chose to bring you on this earth, because we come through our parents and families, but we do not come from them. Hence, some of us come from these broken families, whereas some come from these loving, caring families and parents. Now, the one who's dealt with this card, that they have to find their way, they are growing up with this kind of a setup that is not loving and caring for them, and they now have this void. They are indulging and finding themselves in all sorts of chaos, and this is not everyone. There are people who are really coming from such backgrounds, but they turn out to be loving and caring people. But now, when the enemy uses this kind of a situation as for you to be your form of rejection, the lie that there is something that you could have gotten from your family that you did not get, and therefore you are not important, you are not, you don't have a destiny, you are a mistake. That lie now, the enemy, that he deceives us with, because we're coming from this family, when in fact God chose this family. God knew, and therefore God does not make mistakes. This is the avenue, this is the channel he wanted to bring you on this earth through. And that rejection, that deception of rejection that you got from that setup, is the one that propels you, that God uses to catapult the purpose he has for your life. Now, there is this side where we see it is warranted, but then there is also this side where a child is born from these parents who seemingly are loving and caring. And by the way, these parents they gave what they had. They gave what they had, and that does not say now the child that comes from this setup is missing anything, because they came already with everything that they need. So the enemy will use that as to deceive and perpetuate the lie that says you deserve better than that, what you got, and that this is what warrants you to live now this life, this chaotic life, is because of that. And now the one who comes from this family that is seemingly loving and caring, and they are doing their best, they may even be affording opportunities to take their children to better schools, and some parents may really work hard to get you to that school, not because they are truly affording, in a sense that says they can go over beyond that. When I say beyond now, it means also affording those extra mural activities, affording to give you a daily allowance money to spend at school, to buy food, and also the gear, the expensive gear that your peers may have been wearing when it's CV's day, when you are going out with them. And now that when you feel now that being shortchanged, because your parents are every time saying no, every time you are asking for money to buy at school, and it's expensive for them, and you are asking for these expensive shoes, and you are asking for these expensive games, you are asking for a phone, you are asking for them for all these things, and they are saying no to all these things. And that the enemy uses that to deceive you into feeling that your parents have rejected you, because they are saying no. They are not giving you what you desire, and giving you what your friends have. And now this now can isolate you from your friends, because you don't look like them in terms of what they are wearing. You're not eating what they are eating. You bring your lunchbox, or you avoid sitting with them. Now this now starts to slowly become a rejection, a source of pain for you. That how come can they take you to these expensive schools, yet they cannot buy you these other things? You cannot be involved in these other activities that are extra for them. And the enemy can use that as a source of, and the people who are looking at from the outside in now are saying you are being ungrateful, they are saying you are not being appreciative. And remember, the child has nowhere else to compare what they are receiving it to, because yes, the parents have their own parents who did these things for them, or were not affording to do these things for them, and now this is what now these parents are doing for their children. So they have some form of comparison from what they had to what they are giving. But this child now, who is only receiving from their parents, and may seem unappreciative because they have nothing to compare this to. This is what they are given. They are not in a position yet to give to their own children. But they can be, from the outside, from the person I was looking outside, from the person who had less, you can see them as not being appreciating. And when the enemy uses this as a form of rejection for them, as a form of pain, that your parents are not loving you, and it starts to whisper these lies and give you these thoughts that they don't love you. See, and when that lie is there, and you are sitting on it, and you are rewinding it, and you are really meditating on that lie in your thoughts, you will start to see the enemy he will give you evidence of things that, see, they don't love you. See, they did not come to your game to watch you play. See, you will start to, and it will be so evident to you, because that is what you are looking at, that is what you are being fixated on, and therefore the evidence is going to be there. This is the lie the enemy, many of us, grew up with as a source of our pain. And when we now believed that lie because we meditated on it, when in fact, yes, even sometimes we do bring these things to our parents and they don't take them seriously, when the child is asking these subtle questions, these like subtle questions like you, and we brush them off, when in fact this is something that they are meditating on, that there is something that they are starting to believe. But when we expel those lies from early on, and we affirm them, and we show them and tell them that you are not the things, you are not the things that you have, you are the things that are extra, and it's beautiful to have them, but they are not your identity. You are not made out of things, but you are made out of the image of God. So when as parents now, we start to affirm and our children, we affirm them, and we really sit and hear and hear them and see them, and not say, but that is nonsense, but I'm doing the best, I'm giving you the best that I have. They don't have anything to compare that with. This is what they have. And if they are feeling like what you are giving them, being deceived, of course, if they are feeling like what you are giving them is lacking somehow, is making them somehow feel like they are missing something, and therefore that is something we need to affirm them on. That if I cannot buy you Jordans, it does not mean that there's something wrong with you. It does not mean that there's something missing in your life. Jordans are not your identity. You are more than that. You are loved regardless. And if you cannot fit in with your friends, that means those are not the people for you. But they are people meant for you, where you can be yourself around them, and they will accept you as who you are. You don't need to fake to belong. But when we affirm them and do these things, and they grow up now, because that rejection from the young age, from the womb and your early years, that is the primary rejection. When now these other rejections, being divorced and not being able to, not being accepted for a certain position, when these other forms of rejections, which I call secondary, when you are being hit with those, because you know your foundation, because you are standing firm, those then come at you, you already know that if I don't get that position, it does not diminish who I am. It does not diminish who I am. And I know that God is something better for me. That means it was just not mine. And I can be happy and cheer on the other person who has gotten that position. But it was not mine, because God has for me. And what is for me is for me. So the story that I can also refer and make reference to from the Bible is the story of Samuel. The story of Samuel can be found in the book of 1 Samuel chapter 1 to chapter 25. Samuel is born from his mother Hannah and his father Elkanah. So Hannah was struggling to conceive, and the second wife to his father or to her husband Peninnah had children, and she would mock her and ridicule and do all these things. So Hannah felt anguish, felt pain because she could not have children. And even when her husband tried to convince her and say, but I love you, I'm here, why like do you feel this need? That was not registering to Hannah. Hannah felt this desire, deep desire to have a child. And one day she went to the temple of the Lord and she prayed. The Bible says she prayed with anguish and she wept. And she made a vow to God and said, if you give me a son, I will dedicate him back to you. And then God gave her Samuel. And Samuel now grew up in the temple. Once he was weaned off from the breast, he grew up in the temple. So I say Samuel's parents were his rejection, because his parents, his source of rejection, deception, remember? Because his parents went on and had other kids apart from him, but we do not hear them being dedicated to the Lord or to the house of the Lord. Now we see him also having attachment issues later on as he's the prophet of the Lord. Because I say he had a rejection issue based on his parents. He was detached from his parents because of the vow his mother made, because of the desperate position his mother found herself in when she vowed to give him back to the Lord. And the enemy used that as a source of pain, as a source of rejection for him. That your parents could not keep you. That your parents, look, they are raising your siblings, but they did not raise you. And hence we see him now having these attachment issues when God tells him to go and anoint now the king that the Lord has identified as appointed. And after Samuel had anointed Saul as the first king of the Israelites, and now God has taken back his anointing from Saul and is instructing Samuel to go and anoint David as the next king after Saul. So he's finding himself now still grieving, and the Lord has had to tell him, how long are you going to mourn what I have rejected? How long are you going to be in the state of grieving? This is what happens to many of us when we feel that our parents, when we've allowed the enemy to deceive us and tell us how parents should be like, and tell us how what our parents did took away our identity, that there's something missing or wrong with us, that now we find this attachment, we have this people-pleasing spirit, because we don't want them to leave us, we don't want them to see us in a wrong way, we don't want them to take us in some kind of a way, when in fact God has already proved that. God has already approved us. God is already, we are made in his image. He has already affirmed. He has already affirmed us. Therefore, there's nothing that the world can give or take from us, because we're already stamped. We have the stamp of approval. There's nothing that the world can give or take away from us, because we've already been approved. But the enemy will use that. Now you cannot, it will even be difficult for you to connect that now who you are, and these how you react, and how your relationships are, and with other people, your relationship with money, your relationship with your spouse, your relationship with your children, and the things that you are finding comfort in. You will never connect that, your drinking, to your parents not affording to buy you certain things, and you could not fit in with your friends, your peers at school, because you were not wearing the latest gears that they were wearing, and you did not have the latest phone. You will never associate these two things. That is the plan of the enemy. Hence, he gets us so young that our entire lives we're living this life of trying to fit in, this life of wanting to fill that pain, that void of our shattered soul, because of that deceptive spirit of rejection from infancy, from when we were young. We will never connect these two things. Now, the people now who are encountering this person who is heavily drinking, that is what they are going to point out. That is what is a nuisance to them. Your drinking, your constant drinking. That is what is a nuisance to them. When it started there, you feeling that there's something missing with you, when in fact there's nothing missing with you. You came with everything that God wanted you to have. You came with his image and likeness. There's nothing that the world can give. There's nothing that the world can take from you. That is all for today. Please do like, share, and subscribe. And please do send through your own comments, send through your own experiences. Always remember that God loves you. God chose you first. God has already forgiven everything that you have done, and God has a purpose for your life. He's going to use that pain that you are currently going through and catapult you and propel you to your purpose. Until next time then, goodbye.